maybe 2016. I thought it was a really successful regular season. And if anything, the playoffs kind of disappointed a little bit. At least as a Laker fan, obviously they did. But, some of the other teams, I'm sure they were, happy.
Yeah, I agree. There's so many, like, you guys seen those like TikToks where it's like late night finds. I feel like on the NBA, there's so many of those. Like, I'll just check Twitter, like, oh, it's like a 5 point game, like Jay said. And I watched the end of it, ends up being like one of the best sequences I've seen. So yeah, I definitely love League Pass, and I agree with Jake. Like, I'm a gamer too, so getting 2K, having League Pass, it's a W regardless. So, and RIP to our friends. Well, not our friends, but RIP to Stream East. I seen the tweets going around. It was a good run. I know they're talking about they have all these servers and stuff like that, but looks like they're up. Adam Silver is playing no more games. He's got the summer SUV vans locked and loaded, ready to go. So yeah, RP to those boys over there.
Yeah, in terms of Lakers games, I'm pretty lucky that I'm in the SoCal area, so it's a more local coverage for me. Rest in peace to Stream East. But as the Jalen Brown tweet says, I am not afraid of you or your resources. I'm pretty sure there's other stuff out there that I will not be naming because I am not a snitch. But yeah, I think that's just gonna drive people to either look for stuff, like I said, because they're not afraid of resources, NBA resources, or they're probably gonna have to go into the League Pass. So if that's gonna happen, they got to get their stuff together because delete that, Jake. Please delete it, delete it, delete it, delete it. Delete it. But what I was just saying is that like if they're gonna have people get the incentive to go to League Pass, they better get their stuff together. A lot of the local coverage stuff on the NBA TV and whatnot, I understand why they did it, but it did bring a lot of issues that even local fans couldn't get into it. So if they're gonna drive people to do pay for their services, if we're gonna be doing maybe streams, watch parties here, we're gonna use NBA TV or the League Pass or whatever, they better get their stuff together, or else people are going to be looking for different types of stream sites that Jake totally did not put in the chat room. So yeah.
I mean, I'll also say like one of the best parts, while we're on that conversation of League Pass, or not League Pass, sorry, Playback, is that, you can watch games with League Pass, which I know Earl popped in with me for Team USA once or twice. Alan and I reacted a Team USA game as well on here. That was a little different because obviously it's not on like NBA TV, but it really is awesome how you can switch over to that. And as long as everyone who joins up in here, or even from my Twitter, like logs into League Pass on Playback, like verifies that they have it, whether it's from 2K or the Jason Tatum shoe or whatever, you can see the game right here along with us, which is actually very rare in the sports world because normally there's a ton of rights that get in the way. But that's probably my favorite part about League Pass, and something that this podcast will be doing a lot, especially with like post-game shows and such, because we haven't had a full season on League Pass yet. We haven't had an NBA season on League Pass. So it's going to be a ton of fun on here. And if you are like coming from my Twitter or whatever, please just try to come over to the Playback app and join the room again, because it's a lot easier to see all the chats in here, like directly in the Playback chat. And it is a really fun app. Probably a lot of other creators you like are on here. I've seen a ton of Lakers people, ton of Warriors people, just NBA in general. So come over to the Playback app.
Yeah, indeed. Forget all those other streaming platforms to find your NBA go-to NBA stuff. Join Playback. Playback is an amazing app. It's not cheap plug. It's this Playback. I've been on the app myself to watch NBA games, and it's a fun atmosphere. And as always, join our room, and we'll definitely watch games with y'all. So yeah. Moving forward, of course, with the schedule, we will open the season versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, and at least noteworthy game is that we open Christmas versus the Warriors. So a ton of at least other games, at least for everyone here. What are some games that you are looking at on the schedule?
Honestly, I know it sounds tired down. Nuggets, man. I'm ready to play Nuggets again. I'm ready to play the depleted team. Surely we don't lose to the half a pack of Nuggets. Like they lost a lot of players. KCP. I mean, they added on Russell Westbrook, the best superstar point guard in the league. So maybe that's a little bit scary. I don't know. Just kidding, obviously. But yeah, I think the Nuggets definitely on my list. I'm really looking forward to that Timberwolves game. Um, One of the best memories I have versus Timberwolves last year was Anthony Edwards almost dunking on Anthony Davis. That was pretty crazy. Although I am a Lakers fan, that was really wild to see him jump up there like that. So I'm looking forward to that matchup. And of course, it's the first game after they were all playing on Team USA. So the vibe should be there. Should be a really fun opening night in general for basketball fans. But yeah, I think off firsthand, those are the ones I'm looking at. And like I said again, the Kings, I'm looking forward to that. And really, I'll throw this out there again. I think year 2 Wemby. I want to see what Wemby's got. Like Wemby and AD had some really good battles last year, and that was him as a rookie. So I'm curious to see his development so far. Obviously, you have Chris Paul over there, so maybe offense becomes a little bit easier for him. I mean, we had Jeremy Shohan running point guard, which was very questionable. Now you have one of the best point guards we see in the game, making life for Wemby a lot easier, and then have Stephon Castleton as well, coming in as a rookie, learning from Chris Paul. So that's kind of a dangerous combo. So I'm really excited to see the Spurs. And yeah, I think those are off of firsthand the games I'm looking forward to. I'll throw Sixers in there too, just because I'm a big Duke fan. So seeing Jared McCain get his rookie moment, that would be fun to watch. And of course, Joel Embiid, Paul George. I hot take. I'm looking forward to watching Paul George on the Sixers than I was a Clipper. I just don't like the Clippers, so it'll be interesting to see how he plays on the Sixers. Maybe I won't not like him as much. Not that I didn't like him, but we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to those games though.
Yeah, I'm with you, Earl. Let's do a couple things. I want to go first take style and debate a little bit just for the sake of it. I always agree with Earl, so this is kind of a rare moment. I still kind of agree with Earl. I should say that, but real quick, I just wanted to shout out my boy Truth in the chat. Proud to say he's a friend of mine in real life now, and we're working on some really cool things. Really great guy. Go follow his Twitter if you see this, truthtakes_. Also, if you're just joining the stream, come down to the chat and say, hey, we'll shout you out. We can answer any questions for anyone else. And then, to get back on the topic, I want to say, the reason I said first take style is because, honestly, I'm done with playing the Nuggets, man. I've lost my appeal for it, and it's not because we lose every time, and it's not because I'm not competitive, because I am, competitive with basketball, with sports, but I just think that it's becoming a little bit overdone. And if I had gone to see the Lakers schedule, as Alan mentioned, when it dropped recently, and I saw we were playing the Nuggets opening night, maybe even the second night, I would have been pretty upset and disappointed, because Lakers history and the Lakers rivalries run a lot deeper than the Nuggets. We all know that. This is something that's popped up in recent years. I, in my opinion, I find it very unlikely we play the Nuggets in the playoffs again for a long time. We hadn't played them for a long time before 2 years ago. We got 2 straight years there. I'm kind of done with kind of those games, right? They're very frustrating as Lakers fans, as we all know, but not just because we lose, just because of the discourse about it with Nuggets fans, because of, their attitude. And kind of honestly, Jamal Murray is a big part of it. I am sorry, but this guy has failed at every stage of his career besides the bubble and the Lakers. And I'm very confused, how he's failing upward like that. And then no hate, but then I remember he's playing with Jokic. He's also playing with a really good cast of role players. So it makes sense that team is good. But when I saw what Jamal did in the Olympics, it's a little frustrating to think about all these Laker games. I'm sure you guys would agree. That was my only, disagreement with Earl right there, was that I'm not excited for the Nuggets game. But I do want to highlight a few other games. Opening night versus the Timberwolves is awesome, because not only is it, I mean, I think it's a winnable game, even though I do think they'll be like the first seed. I think it'll be competitive. Anthony Edwards, I've mentioned on here, is my favorite player since I grew up a Georgia fan and, followed him really closely when he was at Georgia, and he's also from the state. So that game is going to be awesome. I also think the Suns 3 days later is going to be a great game on ESPN. I like how we play against the Suns. They are a pretty decent team and they can be scary. But when we've played the Suns, I've really liked what I saw out of our team. And we have the same team, and they also pretty much have the same team. So I think it'll continue. And then just down the line a little more, I know Earl mentioned this. There's a game at San Antonio on the 15th of November on ESPN that I think is going to be awesome. Sneaky good game, I think, is versus Orlando, November 21st. Orlando's really fun and a young team. They're a great regular season team, at least. I actually think we match up pretty well with them too. So I think that will be like actually a lot of fun. And then honestly, I think some people would say they're sick of the Lakers Golden State thing, but the last game I'll talk about is that Christmas game on ABC and ESPN against the Warriors. I'm not sick of that. We all love like Steph times LeBron content or whatever, everything with Team USA. And actually, like, because where they're at right now, and they're kind of a mess at times, and we're kind of a mess at times, if we're being honest, like, it matches up pretty well. And I think we're the better team, as we saw in the playoffs. When was that now? About a year ago only, but technically 2 seasons ago. So I think Golden State LA is always going to be a good game. And if you go back and look at most of the games, it's like an overtime game or 120 at the end or whatever it is. So that should be a really fun one. And I'll kind of wait, to get into the next year, calendar year schedule till we get closer to the time.
Yeah, I guess if we're doing first take, if one of y'all is Shannon, the other one is Stephen A, I can play the Molly role and kind of take the middle ground, kind of moderate. In terms of Nuggets, I think it's really interesting on one hand that obviously there's a bit of that bitterness. There's a bit of that, like, we need to finally dominate all 4 quarters. I think the fact that the playoff series was a lot of dominance in the first half and then just like fumbling in the second half, and having a whole new coach behind that could be really interesting as well. I think on the other hand, though, I think the Nuggets getting eliminated in the second round really like watered down the excitement for quite a few people, because it really does show that like the Nuggets aren't as dominant of like a team and like as big of a priority as like everyone kind of makes it out to be. I think the Lakers do have like that extra bitterness just because of like their recent dynamic. But seeing how international basketball went, seeing how the Nuggets also kind of went out in the second round, how they did absolutely nothing to improve their team, kind of, well, they did a tiny bit, but almost nothing, kind of like how we did to improve our team. It just kind of waters down the excitement for some people in a certain extent. So I think it's really up to individual fans how excited they are. Personally, for me, it's not my biggest priority. Like, I will tune in and I will have a little bit of emotion about it, but it's not my biggest priority. And I think that's why. In terms of games that haven't been mentioned yet, I kind of want, okay, let me see. When is it? First Clippers game at the Intuit Dome, I believe, is on January 19th. And even when we were both sharing staples, sharing crypto, like, it always kind of turned into a Lakers home game. If any of y'all are in the California area like I am, if any viewers on whatever platform, any Lakers fans are there, we already know what to do. We're going to spoil the Intuit Dome Arena opening. Not even Bruno Mars could do anything to counteract what we can do. So, like, we will be there. Mark your calendars for January.
I think your internet crashed out. Of course, continuing on for this one till Alex does come back. The Lakers are also, like as mentioned earlier about the San Antonio game that Jake mentioned, that the Lakers' first in-season tournament game is at San Antonio. And at least also our group upon that is Utah, Phoenix, and Oklahoma City. So we have pretty much a good group for this year's in-season tournament. For the Lakers, hopefully they can go back to back as in-season tournament champions. So at least for the fellas here, as Alex will be back. What are your thoughts on the in-season tournament group, and also at least the schedule, and how can the Lakers work best with what they're given with?
Yeah, I mean, I think. Sorry about that, Alex. By the way, I don't know what happened. It said something with the Wi-Fi logo. Yeah, I didn't even realize that was an in-season tournament when I brought that up to you guys, that game. But you're right. And when I initially saw like the group, I was literally driving to Vegas for Summer League. I kind of put on like the NBA TV radio or whatever it was on. Maybe it was ESPN. Looked at the group and I was like, this is a really hard group for the Lakers. And then I thought about it some more and I was like, no, it isn't at all. This is the easiest group. But I think the reason for my initial reaction was because the NBA is so good now that a lot of these teams actually feel more scary than they are. Like the Spurs were the 14th seed, for example, with that game, but they can go win any regular season game, especially with Wembanyama getting better. The team got way better from last year. So, I mean, I think the group will be challenging, but if you say that, then every group would be challenging. I actually think the Lakers have the easiest, best case scenario because the Lakers, they kind of like divided up, to be fair, by seeds, and the Thunder being that high. The Thunder are in ours, right? I didn't just make that up. The Thunder being that high, that's a team that we all know we match up really well with. So there's potential to win this back-to-back. But a part of me as a fan who's chronically online is like, if we do win it back-to-back, I could see it becoming like less validated in NBA circles because we know how people hate on Lakers basketball and Lakers fans, especially if we don't go win the title then. I do think it kind of puts us in a weird position where people are going to be like, they only win in the bubble and the in-season tournament. That's what they're already saying, so imagine another. So this is a really hot take, because I want to win as many games as possible. I don't want the Lakers to win the in-season tournament. I want to win the finals, of course. I want to win the final, like the real NBA playoffs. But I do want us to do well in the games that count towards the regular season also, so we have a better record, and I'm never going to root against us. So it's kind of a hot take, but if we hypothetically get to that, I forgot if it's the quarterfinals or the semifinals round that doesn't count for regular season anymore, I wouldn't be super disappointed if we lost to a young team, like let's say the Thunder, for example, and then the finals of the in-season tournament was like Thunder Magic or like young teams like that, maybe Rockets, and we could see those teams kind of highlighted a little bit more, and we go for the real thing. And I know it's a hot take, but at the same time, like guys on the Lakers are definitely not prioritizing the in-season tournament this year. I think last year they really did lock in, and I was really happy to see that. But I hope that they have bigger goals of going far in the playoffs. And I wouldn't mind to see a younger, more regular season-oriented team win the in-season tournament.
I think that could be a really interesting take. First of all, Bruno Mars got me. I started talking trash about the Intuit Dome, and the black SUVs came in. Like I said, I'm in California, so I'm not that far away. So they got me, but I quickly made it back. But as I was going to say, the Suns game that I was going to talk about is in the in-season tournament. And even though the Suns, like overall during the season last year, we were like kind of 50-50 on who won more games than the others. During specifically the in-season tournament, we kind of clean swept them, which was really interesting to see. And I think the Suns, kind of like last year, they like the season before, they made a lot of moves in the summer to like change up their roster. And although in some ways it can help, it kind of at the same time looks like a hodgepodge of players that they wanted to get on the team as well. So it's really like unsure like how much they're going to improve or how much they're going to like regress based on that. I think I felt very similarly last year as well. Tyus Jones, for example, is a great point guard pick, but then it's going to like force either Booker or Beal, most likely Beal, out the lineup, and they're going to have to adapt with all of that as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes. I do agree with Jake in terms of the in-season tournament, in terms of like difficulty of teams, where it's just like we aren't the most difficult West team in my opinion. I think there's a lot of different strengths and weaknesses in all the teams. So how we feel about difficulty just really depends on the state of our team in general. Because it's like obviously a team that's in a bad state is gonna say this is a really difficult group. But it's like yeah, because you're the worst one. And like the most dominant teams are gonna think that anything's an easy group. So I think it just really depends on how we feel when we get to that time. Like, are we in a good space? Are we in a bad space? How's everyone else doing as well? Um, and as for whether the title matters or not, I definitely understand that's not like the biggest priority. I think that the ring that better be the biggest priority 100%. It's always fun to like have a little title defense go back to back. And if we win, I will still celebrate. But I think part of the reason why so many people, including Jake, including maybe even some of the Lakers rosters, don't care as much is because besides the cash, which can help mostly the smaller players for sure, besides like the smaller title and all of that, I think because it takes part in the regular season schedule, I wonder if any sort of incentive in terms of playoff spot movement would affect how much people care at all or not. Because I know that adding a game would be weird, but it's also like more of a eye on percentiles, where it's like winning percentile determines who is in the top 8 or top 6 in each conference. So I wonder if even if there's a slight disproportion on the number of games, if affecting the win percentile, which is what's going to be looked at anyways, would make people care more about the in-season tournament or not. Like I'd still celebrate if we do well. But it's also like I understand why people don't care as much, and it's because it's directly taking place in the regular season, but is not having the positive impact that it should for the winners and those who try hard for it.
Yeah, at least a quick point. When it comes to the records, the records count towards the semifinals, but once the Lakers, actually my last season, make the finals, and if they win or lose, that doesn't count after. So after the semifinals, whoever wins that or loses that, it doesn't count after.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna piggyback on Jake. Let's play a little bit of first take here. I think I'm gonna go on the opposite side here just to keep the balance. I think it's good in a way. I like the in-season tournament. I like what it brings as far as the competitive standpoint for our team. I do agree. I think it is a distraction as far as like fans and just the Laker fan base in general and how the league perceives us in recent years when we win that and we just don't compete in the playoffs. I think that's the biggest thing. So if we take away that, I think what we have to focus on is just competing in general when it comes down to winning meaningful games. And I think these playing games, they can be meaningful. I don't necessarily care about winning the whole tournament. I agree with you on that point. But I feel like winning it definitely could spark something as far as this team building chemistry, how to react in moments, like eliminating game moments. Like those are different things you need, the situation awareness you need to compete in the playoffs. So I think the Lakers should focus more on not only competing in these games, but taking what they learn from here and applying it to the playoffs, like the most important brand of basketball for us as a franchise. So I think there's definitely things to take from the in-season tournament. I do agree there's not really a whole lot of incentives still. I mean, yeah, it's all good to say I'm LeBron and AD. I'm playing for my younger guys on this team to get them $500,000. But at the same time, how far does that really go as far as them wanting to actually compete throughout these games? Last year it worked. It was cool. They talked about how they were locked in to get the young guys their check. But is it going to be the same thing this year since they've already done it once? I don't know. And I think that's a big question too. So for me, I like the idea of the in-season tournament. I think if we kind of push it towards a more positive narrative as not treating this as our championship, just treating it as a training ground to win our championship. I think that's the mindset these guys have to have. Like, I'm not going into the season, oh, let's be in-season tournament champions. I just want us to be competitive when basketball games count and matter towards something. And I think if we have that same mentality moving on like deeper into the season, we'll be in a way better place. And I think a lot of that has to do too with I know we talk about coaching staff. We have a whole new coaching staff. So I expect things to be different just in general going throughout the season. And I think this is a good chance for JJ Redick as a first year coach to kind of game plan in situations that it's win or go home. So I think in that aspect, it will be a good test for our coaching staff and our players. I mean, we pretty much have the same team right now, assuming things don't change. It's not like a big roster turnaround. So maybe it's just about continuing to build that chemistry. I think one of the biggest things we all talked about too is like roster turnaround. We complain when we let go of that 2020 team. Well, now we're in a situation where we have the same team we've had for the last 2 or 3 seasons. What happens if we take this team farther with a better coaching staff? Can we truly compete? And I think the in-season tournament definitely gives us a chance. Like Jake said, we're going to be playing a lot of young, energetic teams, and that's really what the league's turning to. Last year, OKC were the number 1 seed, a team as Shea being their veteran leader, and he's a pretty young guy. Like they're going to be in the West dominating for a long time. So you see teams like that play good basketball. You got the Grizzlies coming back this year as well. We can't act like they're a bad team. They were a top team before Ja got hurt, and pretty much that whole roster got hurt. So I expect them to be like live in the tournament. So I think the in-season tournament gives us a chance to see where we kind of sit competitively with some of these younger teams. And I kind of agree. I think this is a younger team's chance to win. I think that's what this tournament was kind of built towards, like younger guys getting experience that might not necessarily make deep playoff runs. But at the same time, if we have a chance to compete and we got a chance to win, I'm all for it as long as that's not the end goal, like just to win this and the season's over. I think it has to be like a stepping stone to us becoming a better team. And I'm really looking more towards JJ Redick and the staff of learning how to adapt in these situations than I am like LeBron James and AD winning a tournament and putting up a fake banner. No offense to the whole system. Another banner up top that's just cosmetic, respectfully.
Yeah, and also with this in-season tournament, we can kind of question LeBron's effort level because at the end of the day, if the Lakers do win or get to the finals, Bryant James will get an extra amount of cash in his bank if his dad and of course his team do win the in-season tournament. But of course, before we go to our next topic, we give at least for the in-season tournament, rank the teams 1 through 5. Of course, the teams is the Lakers, the Spurs, the Utah Jazz, Phoenix, and Oklahoma City. Who finishes 1 through 5?
I can go. For me, are we ranking them on who's gonna win or who's the best team, Alan?
I'll say who's gonna win the group.
Who's gonna win the group? I know I was like being negative about the in-season tournament in a sense, but I do think the Lakers are gonna win the group because the 2 teams that would technically, in some people's minds, be better than us are the Thunder and the Suns. But the problem is when we play those teams, we look really good. Like, as I said earlier, we match up really well with those teams. Even if, LeBron has to grind and guard Durant, even if, you have Vando out there on Booker, I actually feel all right about that whole team all of a sudden, right? Or AD helps with Durant too. Like, it doesn't really sound that crazy. I mean, the Thunder add a new element against us with Hardenstein for sure. But I got Lakers, Thunder, Suns. Wait, who are the other ones? It's Jazz and Spurs, right? Lakers, Thunder, Suns, Spurs easily, Jazz 5th. Every NBA team, this is just a broad statement. I'm sure you guys will agree again, but every NBA team is competitive. Every NBA team is good. We make fun of the Hornets. We make fun of the Jazz. We make fun of the Spurs before Wemby, the Blazers. I can find a lot of positives about every NBA team. I seriously can. I mean, if the Hornets have been stuck in this level of kind of lower than mediocrity, and they still have LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller on the come up, that's ridiculous. If the Spurs are the 14th seed and have Wembanyama, plus they just drafted Castle, plus all these other young guys coming up. Like, that's crazy. My point is it's a very different NBA than 10 years ago and 20 years ago. Every NBA team can win, and as it applies to this tournament, realistically, this is a type of tournament that any team could win, because we may not even be paying attention in the East and the Hornets quietly go 4-0, or the Heat, or someone we haven't even talked about. Every NBA team can go 4-0 in their group and give themselves a chance to win this kind of tournament. And that's why you have to take every regular season game seriously. And yeah, so I'm really excited for all of it. I think it's going to be another really great regular season. And I kind of do see regular season going uphill now that the league, no one says this is a more broad topic, but the league has kind of found a way to counter all that injury stuff that was happening for the last few years to some degree, right? Like, Embiid had a serious injury and it still felt like he was, one of the main players and best players in the regular season alone. And all these guys are like playing now more, and they're incentivized to play more. And I think that's put the regular season like back on an uphill trend that, when it was Kobe and Carmelo on the Nuggets or Knicks or whatever, the Celtics, all that, the regular season used to mean something. And I'm hopeful we're getting back to that place. And the in-season tournament felt like it meant something last year. And I think it'll feel even more like that now that people are used to it, right? And these teams know what to expect.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think just starting off with the rankings, I think I'll go. I mean, we are the champions. We kind of own this new format, so I'm obligated to put Lakers there, biasly and unbiasedly. So Lakers 1. My 2, I think I'm gonna throw a little curveball. I think I go Spurs. I don't know what it is. I think Victor, he has that crazy competitive nature, and if it comes down to these type of games, I can definitely see them winning key matchups like that. Especially with, I think the biggest problem with that team is like the pace they play. I think adding Chris Paul helps that a lot. And just having a mentor in the locker room, he's going to help all those players because for the most part, they're all young, really good young players like Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, guys like that, Stephon Constantine, a rookie. Um, Obviously Victor, all these guys are kind of just missing their point forward or point guard leader, and that's Chris Paul. So I think he can definitely impact them in a bigger way that people really realize. So number 3 for me, I think in this type of format, I would probably have to go with OKC. I think they're just a young team, obviously first seed last year. They just play really good basketball. Like they know how to close games, and I think especially those home games, if they're playing at home, it's really hard to beat OKC when they get things going. The reason why I'm putting the Suns at 4, it's really because they're kind of inconsistent. They have stretches where they were just playing terrible basketball. We didn't know if they were going to make a playoff run. You never know if Bradley Beal is going to be playing. Obviously, Devin Booker, KD, all those guys kind of had injury problems of their own, and they barely really got real time together in the regular season for the most part until the end of the season. So I don't know what that's going to look like as well. And they definitely still have a lot of different things to figure out. And then, of course, I mean, Jazz. I just think the Jazz are they're just here to have fun. No disrespect. I don't know what their aspirations are as far as the NBA right now. I kind of forgot they were a team a couple times. Not gonna lie to you, I forgot John Collins was on that team. I just called the no man's land. Like you go there and people forget about you. Unrelated, but yeah, I really forgot like the John Collins thing. Like, because I live like right outside of Atlanta, so I go to a lot of Hawks games, and I forgot that John Collins was on the NBA. Well, in the NBA until like we played them, and I was like, dang, I forgot about John Collins. Like that's what happens when you go to the Jazz, respectfully. So, yeah, I got them. And then what's the last name? Or is that all of them? That was all of them 5. Yeah, Lakers, Spurs, um, Thunder. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's my 5 then.
I think there are some interesting points for sure. I think the Lakers or the Thunder might have to fight for the top two. I know that rebounding and defense was the weakest thing, and although not everything is fixed, I think replacing Josh Giddey with Alex Caruso can help with defense on some of the smaller players, as well as adding Hartenstein somehow. It's just going to be a matter of if Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein can like play together. Sorry, sizing, not defense. They have a very complete defensive squad, in my opinion. And speaking on that, I think some of the younger players, they might take this step up. I mean, Shea was kind of forced into this leadership role. He's only like, what, 25 or something like that. And he's going to keep going at it. He's going to keep continuing being in the top 5, top 10 conversations of the league and whatnot. And then we have J-Dub. We have even like some other folks, like even I know that Lou Dort on the defense could definitely do a lot as well. Chet obviously going to be out of the rookie conversation now. Now he's played a first full season, so I think they will take jumps, and I think there will be some improvements there. But I do also think that the Lakers, they understand the format the best. I mean, they've won it before. It really depends on, kind of like what Jake was saying earlier. If the Lakers care, they will perform well, I think. If they don't care, maybe they'll falter to 2 or 3. But if they care, they're going to do very well and be fighting for that top spot, with my opinion, the Thunder. Now, who I'm the most scared of out of the other 3, not scared, but I think that the Spurs are going to put up the most fight, actually. I think they made slight improvement in having I know Chris Paul's like 40, but like in having an actual point guard instead of Jeremy Sohan. I think that Wemby's also going to take a massive jump as well. We kind of saw that in the Olympics and whatnot. And just seeing how the Spurs have already been in kind of like a rebuilding mindset. So they're going to continue on with that. And not to be that person, but like we've lost to the Spurs before last season with our biggest deficit being like 30. I don't know if y'all remember that game. We've also had a game where like the Spurs lost to us by like maybe 3 points in a totally different game as well. Like we've had some close calls with the Spurs, and some other teams have as well. So it's kind of going to like Jake and Earl's point about like you can't underestimate any team. The Spurs might have a little bit more fight than a lot of people will give them, just because of how low level they looked last year. And then for the Suns, they're so inconsistent. It's kind of like what everyone was saying earlier, also what I was saying earlier about like how they're just kind of a hodgepodge of players right now. And like until the front office and the Suns knows how to like make a proper system with them, then they're not going to get any further than like barely making the playoffs or anything like that. They're not going to be a top team until they find like a proper system that works for them. And then for the Jazz, it's going to be really funny if they're going to be the one team that upsets us, but also they do seem the least threatening right now. Their aspirations a little bit questionable, not as much of like, it's not like how I was talking about the Thunder and the Spurs about like, oh, they're going to take so many big jumps and whatnot. And like, obviously there's a lot that the Jazz can bring to us. There's some things that the Jazz does better than like all the other teams, that you can say that. But they are, in my opinion, still the weakest and have the least likely chances of really making something out of the in-season tournament. So I'd say like Lakers, Thunder, Spurs, Suns, Jazz.
What one final kind of note with that schedule? I'm not sure how much we're talking about it, but I have seen a lot of hate about opening night and just like some other key dates like Christmas, kind of hate on that slate, other holidays. I guess I'm a little confused because I couldn't think of a better opening night on October 22nd than Knicks at Boston and Timberwolves at Lakers, because you just took the 3 biggest markets that have competitive teams and star players, and then you added Minnesota, who probably will be the 1 seed and has Anthony Edwards, who's like one of the guys who's going to be the next face of the NBA. So I don't really understand that, because that seems like the ideal basketball night. Like that would have been the best night of the regular season last year too. So I will be locked in. And just like for the Lakers, it says that the Timberwolves are a 1.5 favorite right now. Obviously things can change, but we're the home team. I'm not advising betting, sports betting, but I'm taking Lakers plus 1.5 and I'm taking Knicks. No, sorry, I'm taking the Lakers to win, not plus whatever. I'm taking the Lakers to win and I'm taking Knicks plus 5.5 because I think the Knicks have a chance to beat Boston too. That is a random tangent, but my point is opening night looks like a ton of fun. And then the next day, Wednesday, you get, I think, pretty much every other NBA team plays.
Yeah, I'll be quick with mine. I got OKC. I got the Lakers. I got Phoenix at 3. I got San Antonio at 4 because I'm not sure what kind of Chris Paul we're going to get. Either we get Warriors Chris Paul, who's just doing his thing, or we could magically get OKC Chris Paul, who led that young group to a very much good season and playoffs. You can say competitive playoffs versus the Houston Rockets back in, was it like 2020? So you can say depends on Chris Paul and how he performs. And of course, I got Utah last. Of course, for any viewers in the chat, or of course, Jake's Twitter, feel free to drop those rankings of who these win the NBA season West group. And also for our hosts, what is your final predictions? The end season record. How many wins? How many wins will the Lakers get? How many losses will the Lakers have? I got the Lakers going 52-30.
I like that. Yeah, I think, we're going to revisit this a ton, obviously. Like, at many points in the season, we're going to have more clarity. I haven't thought about it yet just because I know I'm delusional, but I'm still a little hopeful that we make at least one or two minor moves, like right before training camp, that can help us. I think I'm going to be a little optimistic, I guess, and say 54-28.
All right. What you guys all been waiting for? My prediction is going to be very optimistic. Don't shoot the messenger. I got this directly from the Lakers organization. The script is written. I think on the season we finish. I got a 62-20. I think we're gonna have a really great season. It sounds crazy, but I was going back and looking. It's not that the team is bad. I understand. We had this conversation about, yes, the team, whatever. We had a conversation about this. Like, yes, I wouldn't love a move to happen, but just looking at what we have, I don't think it's impossible for us to play good basketball with a great system built around us. I think we have shooters. I mean, D'Lo had one of the best shooting seasons just in the NBA period. Now, playoff time, I can't confirm nor deny what version of D'Lo you're going to get. I really can't defend that, but regular season, he was a great three-point shooter, whatever. LeBron James had one of his best three-point shooting seasons. Anthony Davis, he had a dominant season on offense and defense. The only thing that will literally solidify this roster, I feel like, is just adding a great big. If we had a great big, I'd be 100% confident in my answer. I think if we have a big to play next to Anthony Davis and we move him to the 4, I think we'll have one of the best. I think we'll have one of the best teams to compete. But right now, I'm going to be super optimistic. I think that's just the role I want to play this year. I'm going 62-20. Call it delusional, but I think I'm cooking.
I'm gonna need Earl to. I don't know if there's a screen recording option on playback, but if you want to go down the ESPN list of games and like just pick out the 20 live right now, I would love to see that. I mean, I think we'll definitely do better than the 47 that we won last year. I do think we're gonna be in like the 51-54 range in terms of wins. I'd say I'd go 53 to, I'm not doing the math, however many losses that is. I'm not doing no math right now. What is that, 29? 53-29, I think. But yeah, I just think it's just a matter of form. Like, we can look at it like individually, team by team. I think it's gonna be like a game of form. Like, what if we go on this like really early road trip and either we do very consistently well, or we like mess up the first game and it just like messes up our form. Like, it's really gonna be a game of form, and there's going to be multiple runs of us doing really well, multiple runs of us just like doing really bad as well, maybe. But all in all, I think that we're going to be in like the low 50s range. I think we're going to do much better, assuming that JJ Redick isn't like Luke Walton 2.0 or anything like that. We're going to do better than what we had last season. I would love for it to be 62-20. I would love for it to be 73-9 or whatever, but like right now my head is at the low 50s right now.
And I also just think low 50s is optimistic. But one of the things I love most about Earl is like he's truly an optimistic, like happy, passionate Lakers fan. So I respect it a lot. But I will say if we win 62, we would be the worst roster to ever win 60 games if the current roster stood. And the issue is the two guys on the roster who are elite are both well past their primes, in my opinion. No, that's no hate on AD, but just because of a lot of injuries, the way he was moving on the Pelicans was different. And then, like, obviously LeBron, like, still great, but he's not like 26. So I can't see that just because it would be nearly impossible. If you went down the list, like I kind of heard your point there, Alex, and like looked for the games, you could definitely find like 20 where it's like, yeah, we'll probably lose that one. And Earl's math could check out in theory. But the issue is we don't account for that random game they lose against the Spurs. Like if we went off that record and Earl saw the Raptors November 10th, that would be a guaranteed win in our minds because we're optimistic, but we just don't know because every team is way too good. But I do think JJ Redick is a winner. And what was it? We had 47 last year or whatever. I do think JJ's like mentality about this and how successful he's been in his career, like barely missing the playoffs ever, knows everything about the NBA, knows every player, their strengths and weaknesses. That adds probably 5 wins if we're being honest. So they should be at least around 52 with like a similar roster. And I still think Connect could be a big piece for us off the bench. I see that as an addition. Connect is going to have a better career, in my opinion, than like a Torian Prince too, especially coming out the gate.
Look, I'll double down and defend this. I think one of the biggest things I seen last year was a lot of stagnant offense. Like we had D'Angelo Russell. I complained about this a lot during the season. There's times where he's just not involved in the offense at all. When you have a three-point shooter like that who can hit, and pretty much we talked about this before too, like one of the best, I'll say this with 100% confident, one of the best heat check shot makers right now in the NBA, I feel like D'Angelo Russell can be in that conversation. And we have plays specifically ran for him to get easy three-point opportunities. I think that's going to open up his game a lot more. Same with Austin Reeves. We had times where he just struggled. I think if he has set plays where he's dedicated to, hey, you're taking a three in this play, or we're setting up something for you to get easy opportunities, I think that opens up his offense as well. And if you have both of those guys, and assuming Rui Hachimura as well, we had times where Rui was just not involved at all in the offense. He didn't play for games at a time. And then you plug him in and expect him to just go out there and make shots and just get buckets. He was working way too hard to get opportunities. So with that logic, me personally, I'm betting all my marbles on why did I forget? Why did I forget his name like that? On Redick. Sorry, JJ Redick. Sorry, my mind went blank for a second. My bad. I'm putting all my marbles on JJ Redick to just be a way better coach, make it easier for guys to get opportunities to score. Then you talk about a guy like Dalton Connect. As a rookie, I agree with Jake. I think his career path definitely can be kind of crazy. Playing next to, like, think about Dalton Connect. He's the one rookie who has no offensive pressure coming into a game. When you're on the court, you'll have like a LeBron James or Anthony Davis on the court. I think the same thing about Jared McCain. Like you have a Paul George, a Maxey, or Joel Embiid on the court. When you get a shot, most of the time you're probably going to be wide open for a catch and shoot because I'd rather go double LeBron or AD or even D'Lo to that point than put all my pressure on a rookie on the defensive end. So even like Jake said, if we have a moment where Dalton Connect, he kind of blossomed into this player we seen him be at Tennessee, bring that energy to the Lakers as like a 6-man type of role. Shout out to 6-man Jake. We can potentially have a lot of extra offense off the bench. And what was the one thing we complained about? When Austin Reeves became a starter, we had no creative offensive flow off the bench. Well, Dalton Knecht can be that guy for us. We talk about defense in the guard position. Max Christie might actually get his opportunity to play those minutes. And Max Christie, I think he's a great defender when he does play. And one thing he practiced, he trained, he got his weight up. One, two, he became a way better catch and shoot 3-point player, and he just knows how to cut. Like, not a lot of players. I know it sounds crazy, dumb to say. Like, not a lot of players when we play with these LeBron James teams just cut to the basket. It's simple to make one cut. One person who did it in the Olympics all the time was Drew Holiday. Simple cut. Nobody really guards the cuts like that. Simple cut, easy pass. Max Christie can get like 6 to 8 points just off of backdoor cuts, in my opinion. He's really athletic like that. So with those small marginal changes and having and some shout out the chat, like someone said Gabe Vincent. Now, me personally, I'm not putting my marbles on Gabe Vincent. He's not in my rant of why Lakers can be great, but there is potential there. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He was hurt, whatever, didn't have a chance to really get into the offense. Cool. But if we can get 5% of that Miami Heat, Gabe Vincent, good defender, good 3-point shooter, plus playmaker, I think that can make a difference as well. So with all those things being said, I think, is it kind of unlikely that we win 62? For sure. But do I feel like we have a chance with good coaching and consistency from this roster? Definitely. I think things are going to get easier for everybody, top to bottom on this roster. I just think JJ Redick has a good basketball mind. You add that with LeBron James, we can probably see another like Rondo/Bron masterclass of a season. Because when things went bad, Rondo and Bron were in the room like crunching numbers. They were creating plays. They were creating things. They were getting the guys in the locker room, their atmosphere, in the right mind. And that's how we're winning some of these games based on that. Plus Frank Vogel, obviously a great defensive coach. All those factors helped us win games. So I'm going to put my marbles on JJ Redick. Sorry for the long talk, but I think this team definitely has potential, in my opinion.
And one thing down there in the chat, I saw my guy Nabil came in from Twitter. Well, number one, like with the D'Lo coming off the bench, sure, like that sounds great. That would help the bench a lot. But one thing we do know about D'Lo is, I mean, no offense, but he has a bit of an attitude problem in a sense. Like when he came off of the bench, he was far worse than what he was giving us as a starter. And I don't think he would be, happy about that change at all. I mean, same with Austin, but, Austin like should be starting for sure as like a shooting guard. I just think with D'Lo, like you're not going to get anything out of him if you put him on the bench. And also like, imagine Gabe Vincent in the starting lineup. Like we don't have a Tyus Jones who can go and start because Gabe, like that's what I'm saying, Earl, what you just said in the chat. Like if we had Tyus, then it makes more sense. But like D'Lo off the bench means Gabe starting, let's say, and like he would look so bad, very likely, next to LeBron and AD and Austin compared to like a D'Lo. Like sure, defensively, he'd probably be better. But offensively, it would be a mess. He would be the worst starting point guard in the league in terms of offense, very likely. I mean, unless he goes all the way back to like Heat playoff form. So I don't know about that. And then I did want to like address what I said I would in the chat with like news for us. I mean, I think we all know, like all of us who are on Twitter all the time, like there hasn't been any like official Lakers news, even from guys like Anthony Irwin or Jovan Buha or whatever like that. I don't think we've seen any news, but one thing I did find interesting was there was a full article that I saw on Google and not Twitter for some reason about the Lakers being really interested in Doug McDermott, and it was from a real reporter. So I thought it was interesting, but regardless of all that stuff, like if they're not opening up a roster spot, which it seems like, they obviously haven't so far, it doesn't really matter who's a free agent. But just to like play along with that, Nabil, if there were guys like that I would want who are still free agents, if we could get off of Reddish or Hayes, let's say, I mean, I would like McDermott as a shooter, but my number one guy would still be Lonnie Walker, who's still a free agent. he brings a lot to this team, as we know from his opportunities on this team in limited stints. I think Lonnie Walker would fit in great. And I also think Lonnie's good enough where you can start him and be okay. So that could definitely be really interesting. If I were the Lakers and I weren't making a big move, but I was the GM or assistant, I would, go to Rob and say, hey, there's no point to keep Cam Reddish. If we can't get a trade done, we may as well cut him and go get Lonnie and say, hey, we really want you back. We made a mistake, because that helps the team so much, I think, in a small way. Like, it seems small, but it actually will help in a lot of these games. And with Max Christie being paid, and I think it's clear he's getting like an ascension with minutes, Cam Reddish becomes a little bit more disposable, because I do kind of view them as similar defensively. And then, offensively, Max is better. So, yeah, I mean, ideally, Rob doesn't give out these contracts where people have a player option, but, I don't think we have that for next season. But at this point, like, you got to do whatever you can to at least open one spot and get Lonnie, because he's such a quality player who's still out there. And, the Lakers got Christian Wood in August at some random time, or right before training camp, whatever it was last year. So we know that they've done that in the past. So hopefully they do that again.
Yeah, then I'll just respond to Bill again in the chat. I agree with you, man. Like, I feel like obviously in the ideal world, if you had a chance to bring an offensive talent like D'Lo off the bench, it would benefit this team a lot. But I think right now, as far as players ready to take on that role, we just don't have that on the roster. Like Gabe Vincent, if you compare him to D'Lo, the only thing, in my opinion, he's better at than D'Lo is defense. And we've seen in the playoffs, he really struggled to get his three-point shot off. He just really struggled to score in general. So if you weigh that against D'Angelo Russell, he's a better playmaker, better scorer. He can get to the paint. Only thing he really is absolutely terrible at is obviously collapsing at times, and his defense is just not great. So and then Max Christie, I just feel like if you start him early into the season, playing more minutes, I definitely would respect that decision. But then again, I don't know how JJ Redick is going to handle his minutes just yet. And it's going to take him time to kind of learn how to play that position. Because for me, I think Max Christie is more of a two guard, in my opinion, more than anything. So I think it definitely takes a lot of adjustment on a roster. But yeah, if there's a situation where we did trade away D'Lo, I think we would probably try to bring a guard back of some sort, maybe. And of course, probably a big, because that's one of our biggest needs, no pun intended, going into the season. But yeah, appreciate the comments, of course, as always.
And just one other little thing. This is kind of a random note. I found it very interesting on Twitter. For anyone who is a Dodgers fan like me, the Dodgers designated Jason Hayward for assignment, who obviously a couple years ago was a really good all-star player. Now he's older. But what was very interesting about it was Jason Hayward actually hit a pinch hit 3-run home run for the win last night in the bottom of the 8th. And that was his last at-bat with the team. And he basically got cut after that, which I found very interesting. But he's older now at this time. That is an unrelated tangent. But, I mean, have we ever seen a guy get cut after hitting a game-winning 3-run home run? I don't know.
We saw with our man Matt Ryan. He hit a game-winning, game-tying winner, and he got cut a couple of days after. So I think that's the best example I can give. And shout out to the Dodgers. They have depth that the Lakers, of course, don't have this year. But, yeah, hopefully they can be competitive as the Lakers. Moving on to another rumors/news that was at least on the timeline surrounding last week was LeBron James to the Warriors resurfacing. Of course, that was a rumor that was thrown around at least during the NBA trade deadline. And of course, the Lakers and Warriors, there were some talks, some rumors. So a lot of people were panicking if that could happen. But in reality, that did not occur. It ended up being rumors. However, Rich Paul, per Mark Stein, did say that he implored the Warriors and Lakers to scrap the idea of trading LeBron James to the Warriors last season, largely because he wanted to protect James from potential backlash over switching teams for the fourth time in his career. First, do you believe Rich Paul's statement? And second, what are your thoughts about the news resurfacing about LeBron to the Warriors?
Well, I just think like the craziest thing is that that's true, right? Like, and at this point, we kind of know that. Like, the fact that LeBron could have been traded at the trade deadline, especially to the Warriors of all places, is absurd. I remember there was one reporter who does work, I want to say it was like for Fox, and his name was like David Pingalore or something like that, talking about LeBron getting traded at the deadline, and everyone's like, oh, this is fake. He's gotten things wrong. But like, the fact that he kind of had that inside scoop was kind of crazy. He also like knew Kawhi was going to the Clippers way early. I can't believe that that was real. And if we do see those guys team up, great. But I would be really hurt as a Lakers fan just because of like what LeBron has given us just to see him go to the Warriors. Although if we were fully rebuilding, if that was the goal and we got back like Kuminga, Moody, Trace Jackson, like 2 firsts, like something like that, Podzemski, whatever it was, like sure, they do have some young players, but I don't even know if it would have been like that. Probably not with Kuminga. So, I mean, obviously it would have been really weird to see. Also, not even that, but like the potential that they could have missed the playoffs. Like the Lakers could have still gotten in the playoffs over them, and then you just have LeBron and Curry sitting at home. Obviously, the Warriors lost to the Kings. I mean, LeBron, even if LeBron was there, they could have lost that game, hypothetically. So that would have really sucked too. If everyone kind of was like, yo, LeBron and Steph teamed up. They didn't even make the playoffs. And it was kind of like Kyrie and Luka in that first season with the Mavs in the second half of the year. And then just like to answer your other part, it's so weird. Like the legacy part of it shouldn't matter that much, I guess, because he is really old. He's played 22 years. 3 teams is not that crazy in 22 years. I don't think 4 is that crazy. But I could see fans going crazy with the backlash because even though the Warriors aren't what they once were, it's like the fact that they were rivals and then he would have gone over to them. I could see there being backlash. So who knows, like if LeBron was even interested in that, but there was no way the Lakers were going to get Steph Curry. So it kind of had to be like that reverse with LeBron going there. And I think they made the right call ultimately not doing that at this point, even though it would have been cool to see those 2 guys play together.
Good looking out, Uncle. We got it taken care of. I feel like it definitely would have been interesting to say the least. I don't know. I think it would have hurt a lot of Lakers fans just in general. Because I think one of the biggest things we always talk about is if we have LeBron James and AD, we always feel like we have some type of chance. So losing him at the deadline, I think that would pretty much crush all dreams of competing for a championship at that moment. And then you will have the narratives of, hey, is Anthony Davis leaving? Or what's next? Who's the next star coming to LA? We kind of have to not start from zero, but I mean, that's a big player to kind of try to replace going into the summer. So that's my first thoughts. Also, it is crazy how all these stories always leak in the summertime. I guess Lakers media is always going to be around. But yeah, shout out to Rich Paul, man. I think he did a good job of keeping LeBron here regardless, not entertaining these offers. But I don't know, man. I kind of would have been really sick waking up to see, LeBron James traded. How sick would you guys be? LeBron James traded for Draymond Green. What if Draymond Green was in the package? LeBron for Draymond and some other guys, and I would be absolutely sick. I think I would still realistically watch the games, but it wouldn't be the same. I'd probably have to take a mental health break watching games because it gets really wild. Shout out to our post game shows. A lot of emotions shared there throughout the last couple of years. And I don't know what my reaction would have been seeing LeBron traded at the trade deadline. I don't know. I just think it would have been terrible. But now we're in a different reality where Steph Curry, I mean, the Warriors are kind of losing a little bit of leverage. Klay Thompson's gone. Stephen Curry's getting a little bit older. I I know it's nothing, but I seen like those little funny tweets about Curry removing Warriors point guard from his bio and stuff like that. Just fun speculations. But yeah, I think not saying we have any type of leverage because I just don't think we do. I think now it's a lot different than it was in the middle of the season. Potentially, obviously, I don't know how contract stuff works out, but who wouldn't want to see Curry in a Lakers jersey, respectfully? I mean, we've seen what they did in the Olympics. It was absolutely insane. But seeing Curry and Bron and AD, I forget what else is left. We'll figure it out. We can go get Nah, I was about to say something crazy. I was about to say you can go get Kendrick Nunn back, but never again. That was obviously a joke. I didn't want to say that. But yeah, you can pretty much add whatever else you want to that roster. Steph Curry, LeBron, and AD. We went in at least two of them things, at least two. And Bronny will be a two-time champion as well. So we ball. We can even have Cannon Curry join the Lakers in the future. It's just like all-time recruiting for the future. But yeah, I'm glad he didn't make that decision to leave us. And who knows what can happen in the future? Who knows how patient Stephen Curry is throughout this whole process?
I didn't know I'd have to do this, but like first of all, before I even say anything, I gotta rebuke Kendrick Nunn from coming back. I hope Kendrick Nunn is doing well, but I have to rebuke us having to relive that saga ever again. That was not fun. We have to rebuke that energy, just whatever. The fact that was put out to the universe, we got to channel that back in, channel that away. But I think, that news would have been so nasty if if LeBron actually did end up leaving for the Warriors to play with Steph. I know that the social media spaces can be really toxic sometimes. There's a lot of, oh my gosh, Nabil, yeah, we were. That's what we always do. We get excited about certain players and then they like disappoint us. It's so sad. But aside from that, I just know that a lot of Lakers spaces they have like the LeBron fans and then like the Lakers fans who absolutely despise LeBron for everything and probably hates Clutch as a general as well. So I know that those types of discourses would be so toxic, so nasty, so heated. I already know that if that ever happened. Um I don't know if anyone asked Rich Paul about anything related to it or if he just brought it up for attention. I'm going to have to do more look into that, but I'm glad that that was Rich Paul's response was to like shut down those conversations because he knew that there'd be so much going on. I mean, he knew that like his black SUVs can only handle so much. So good for him for stopping the Lakers Warriors talk. I think it would have gotten really nasty if it really did go through. And I also think that there's an interesting point of like whether the Lakers make the playoffs and like the Warriors are sitting at home, kind of like Jake was talking about it. I think maybe both teams would have been sitting at home if that happened. Like, I think that the Lakers, if they had found a plan to move on beyond LeBron, then maybe they would have had a chance to be in the playoffs while the Warriors were at home with Bron and Steph if the trade happened. But they haven't really done a good job moving on from LeBron yet. Like obviously AD is like the top player, but like obviously we don't really have the most cohesive systems yet, even with LeBron there. So if LeBron did actually end up leaving, it wouldn't be the Lakers making the playoffs and the Warriors sitting at home. It would be both of us fighting for who would be above the cookies tab and who would be below the cookies tab, and both of us would be at home losing the play-ins if that was even possible. So that's like my one slight counter, but then like besides that I agree with everyone. Like this is a mess. It would have been a mess, and I think I'm just glad that we're not in an alternate universe where that happened, to be honest.
Yeah, my bad about the Kendrick Nunn stuff. That's on me, guys. I won't ever say that name again on the streams. We're good.
Yeah, I think the news is half-hearted. I'm not sure if I can fully accept it. We know LeBron, Clutch, and Rich Paul like to bring up news, like to bring up some rumors if they're feeling dissatisfied, you could say. But yeah, I don't fully agree, or at least know about it if it were to be true. So that's just my opinion on that. Before we move on to at least our game to end the podcast, is there any more topics our hosts do want to mention or talk about?
I'll just say, Rob, Rob, just don't do anything dumb. I think we talked about this before. Don't do a trade, just do a trade. But if you have to throw a little something here and there, go get a Curry. All will be forgiven for the next 8 years. I'll give you an 8-year lease of my full forgiveness on whatever you do to the Lakers.
I mean, I guess my statement would just be like the Lakers as an organization. Like, can you please go? I don't know if you're going to make a trade. I don't know what's going to happen with that. But can you go hire someone else, like an assistant GM, even if it's like a GM and Rob just becomes like president instead of vice president and GM? Like, can you go bring one basketball mind in here like the Timberwolves did, like the Nuggets did, like Thunder, Pelicans? They all did that. So, like, please, like, try to put your pride aside. I know this could take a while, but bring someone else in who knows the game of basketball to this front office at least.
Yeah. I think my final statement would be there's a lot of moves that need to be made. Don't make the bad moves though. Like, I would rather have no move than a bad move, but there is a lot that can be done. I think the fact that we still have absolutely no news on the roster is very interesting to me. But no matter what happens, I'm gonna go back to what Earl talked about, the post game shows that we do pretty earlier. It's gonna be a movie no matter what the roster ends up looking like. I still have the picture of when we were sitting in the dark with sunglasses when the Lakers got eliminated. Alan doesn't even have his camera on, but like I still have the so these are the high emotions that happen during these post game shows. So please tune in. Even if the lack of roster movement isn't moving you guys, I hope us as a panel move you guys enough to still somehow have fun watching Lakers. So yeah, before we go on to the next topic, I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, post game shows will be back. Realistically, I try to do every game, or we do, but life happens, obviously. But the schedule is really just to try to hit every game. That's the vibe. That's what it's always been. Whether it's 10 minutes to bad games, could be an hour plus. You never know what can happen. So yeah, make sure you guys follow up on here. We'll be going live for post game shows, and it'll be a lot of fun. Trust me, it's really fun content for sure.
Now moving forward to our little quick game. Of course, normally we have a hot take segment, but at least for this week, we'll have a little game for this one inspired by Sickman Jake's tweet. I'll drop it down below in a bit. But yeah, it's, as you can say, NBA superlatives on our current Lakers roster. So from the first row, it's most underrated, most overrated, best, worst. Next row, funniest, most annoying, most potential, most wasted potential. Next one, best passer, best perimeter defender, best rim defender, most athletic. Next one is best handles, best shooter, best in post, and best role player. So at least whoever wants to start with the first row, choose a square and just name the player from my current roster.
And I'm gonna send you guys this thing on text just so you can check out this grid because I know it's hard to follow. Yeah, let's just go row by row since there's 4 of us. I guess I'll take the top row. I think on the current roster, most underrated, I think Jared Vanderbilt. I don't think Max Christie because I think Vanderbilt gives us even more when he's healthy. Because of injuries, I think he's become underrated. Most overrated. This is kind of sad because I love this guy, but Rui Hachimura, just because the hype about him could either be like way too high or way too low. It's hard to know what he actually is. So I think some people overrate him a lot. Best, Anthony Davis. Earl and I have talked about this on YouTube, but I think he finally passed LeBron. Just if he's healthy, is all around the best player. And then worst player on our roster, it's pretty obviously Bronny James. He's literally the only player who's kind of questionable who's like a full-time roster spot, who's a questionable NBA player, at least right now. So I did that first top row, and you guys go ahead with the rest.
Can I take the second row? I'll take the second row. So I guess the funniest, I feel like Braun is gonna be like the most for sure answer. I do agree with it. I feel like he has I remember, I think someone on Twitter said like funniest LeBron moments, and that went viral all over Twitter. I like contributed to it as well. I have like a lot of memes. I have that photo of LeBron just doing a handstand, because I guess he fell weird during the game. If I can find it. Also, all the times he's lied on social media, all the times that he got his lyrics wrong and everything. Even in the Olympics, just him holding the flag, just like these weird, accidental, funny things. I think. Obviously, I think LeBron is going to be the most for sure answer. I think. Okay, this is not like. I think honorable mention to Torian Prince because he had one funny moment, and it was this. So I'll give. I know he's not on the roster right now. That's why I'm making him an honorable mention. But here's this, as well as his classic rebounding clip. So I hope you're doing your big one with the Bucks right now. But I'll put him as an honorable mention.
For also,
Sorry, go ahead.
For our audio listeners, that's a picture, or it was a picture that Alex was showing of Torian Prince dribbling in front of a head coach, I think. I don't know who.
Yeah, it was Taylor Jenkins.
Oh, what?
It was the Grizzlies coach. I was at this game too, and like I think Jenkins got really mad at a certain play that wasn't called. So then while Torian Prince was taking the ball up the court, he basically just like jumped out of the bench and started like guarding him. And that was like one of my favorite moments too. So Torian Prince is a Buck now, but like he did his big one with a couple of moments here and there. And then for most annoying, I hate calling my own team players annoying. I absolutely hate it. I love uplifting all of my
D'Angelo
members.
Russell.
But unfortunately, I was gonna say D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell stirs the pot too much. He was on Discord talking all this stuff, acting like he was gonna do his big one, and then dropped 0 points in the playoffs and took no accountability for it. And like, I think like it's one thing to be like bad at a game, good at a game, or whatever, but it's like if you're going on social media talking your big stuff and then like not performing at all and then taking no accountability. Also, the way that he purposely took like 50 years to like talk about his player option, whether he was gonna take it or not. I hate calling my own players annoying and I want to uplift them, but like unfortunately D'Angelo has the most antics and it's like the most irritating of the antics, so I have to say that. I think for most potential, I have a few. I'll start off. I think both are rookies, but especially Dalton Connect. I feel like he has a really complete game, but this will be his first very complete game, a lot of experience in the collegiate level because he kind of had that 4 years. But he's going to be stepping in to the NBA for the first time. Showed a lot of scoring prowess in the summer league. He can only grow from there. I'm pretty sure he's going to have a really significant role with the Lakers. Will be forced into that, and JJ Redick was already drawing up plays for him in the draft. So I feel like he has the most potential. We have a lot that we can see. I'll also even say Max Christie. I think his developmental window was kind of stunted a tiny bit because Darvin Ham like didn't play him as much. He was like when he'd have like one game that was bad and then like we get DMP'd for the next like 6. So I think that Max Christie, I think he's gonna be forced to play more. I think he had a lot of defensive potential, especially. And I hope that those two will be used properly. And those will be my 2 answers for most potential. Most wasted potential, I fear, is going to be Cam Reddish. I think throughout his entire career, even before the Lakers, he just had some confidence issues. Like he had a really nice potential of having a super physical offensive game where he could just like bully his way to the basket and just like dunk it in and like posterize a bunch of people. And like he was pretty good on defense too. But like he always loses form so quickly. He always has this like confidence issue ever since like, oh my gosh, what team was it? It was, I think after, I'm like double checking this. It was he was at the Knicks, I think, for a little bit, and then after that he went to Portland, I believe, and like that was kind of where like his confidence was just shot the entire time. And I really thought he was going to do his big one with the Lakers when he started getting a bigger role, but he kind of dropped the bag there too. So I think that'll be my choice for wasted potential.
All right, I guess I'll sub in. We got a fun row coming up. Let's just rip off the band-aid. Best passer. Easy. Right behind me, assisting me on the broadcast, my guy LeBron James. Obviously, it's not really a lot you have to say about that. I will say best. He's the best passer too, but he does a lot of risky pass. It's either going to be a really nice pass or it's going to be a turnover. So that's the bad side of some LeBron passes. It's either going to be right in your hand or one you're not paying attention and it goes out of bounds, falls to your finger, or LeBron just misangles the pass and it goes out of bounds. So best passer, I'm giving it to LeBron. Now best perimeter defender. Do we have a bet? No, I'm just playing. In my opinion, I'm gonna just give it to the young guy. I'm gonna give it to Max Christie. I think he definitely has a lot of potential to still grow in that department, but at the same time, when he had his moments to shine, he does a good job of applying pressure in the front court. And I think he's only gonna get better with the more minutes he gets. So I'll go Max Christie there. This is an easy one. Best rim protector. That's Anthony Davis, man. If you want to try Anthony Davis, you can get sent home packing. Like I remember there's one game where he was just volleyball spiking that thing. They kept trying him. Or what was that? It was like a 3-on-1 fast break. He tracked him down, stopped the dude with his body, and then went back up and blocked it. Like that type of gameplay on the defensive end from Anthony Davis is why some Lakers fans consider him the best on our roster. In my opinion, he's the best two-way player we have right now. Might be top 3 two-way players in the league, in my opinion. Biasedly, unbiasedly, whatever you want to put it. But yeah, and the most athletic, I mean, it's the old man. Dude's 40 years old, and he somehow, some way, still chase down people off the backboard. I don't understand how he does it. Not sure. You know what? To be fair, too, I'll give him my close second. Athletic. You know what? I might give this to the Rook. My close second runner up, Dalton Connect. I feel like he has some sneaky hops, and I'm ready to see that Braun to Dalton Connect alley oop. I think it's gonna be really cool to see. But I'll give him a close second. I'm trying to think who else really has hops on our team. I mean, it's not really that crazy. I might even throw. I don't know how much time he's gonna play. Like Jake said, maybe Bronny in there. He has a really good vertical for his size, and then I'll just give one more. Maybe Max Christie, because he does have sneaky hops. Max Christie has really sneaky hops, and he's a really good rebounder for his height as well. So that's my row. Pretty easy row for me right there.
Well, my hot take right there, Earl, was actually something that you ended up saying, but like after LeBron, like I do think it's Connect. His vertical is crazy, and I've seen him dunk on people a ton, so I'm excited for that too.
If I've got our last row, and I'm about to get a little spicy with this one. First, we got best handles. I got Austin Reeves. People can mention D'Lo because he's a point guard. He can get a little shifty here and there, but Austin Reeves is dropping players here and there. And of course, we've seen that little clip of him he's getting through Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I got Austin Reeves as the best handles on this roster. Best shooter. I kind of hate to say this because he does struggle, but I gotta go D'Angelo Russell. I think Russell, on a great day, is one of the best shooters on this roster. Arguably, I don't know what was his percentage again. I gotta check the website. That doesn't mention it, but like he's easy a 35% and up 3-point shooter, in my opinion. And I think when he's at his best, as seen versus that Bucks game, he scored 40 plus points or like 30 plus points. He can prove that he's a elite shooter on this roster. Best in the post, easily Anthony Davis, no questions, no thoughts about that. Best role player. I don't know. It can get tough because, like I said, the Lakers rotation that is different and various. But for now, and at least maybe hot take / prediction, best role player will be Dalton Connect. I think he will be the best role player on this Lakers roster this year. I think he has the ability to be a elite 6-man and be a scoring threat and can develop defensively this year. And especially if you pair him with Jared Vanderbilt, who can anchor that defense, while Vando is primarily a scorer, or Dalton Connect is primarily a scorer, then that could be a elite pairing, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know if it's a hot take, Alan. It depends how you define role player, but technically Austin Reeves is the best role player on the team because – you know, on a lot of teams, I know for us, we rely on him so heavily, and obviously it's a little different, but technically he is a role player next to Brown and AD. And, I do think he's the best, but because of our like weirdly defined roles, like you said, I think Connect as a hot take is a really good one because I do typically think of like a bench player who can give you a lot, and I think he's going to do that for us.
Look, I put in the chat, bar for bar, bag for bag, D'Lo is one of the best heat check players I've seen play in the last couple years. Like, I know it sounds crazy. Like, it's hard to give D'Lo praise at times because he does get annoying in the media. He does complain a lot. He doesn't take accountability for when he does mess up on the court. But I cannot lie. D'Angelo Russell, if he is hot, Darvin Ham, don't sub him out until he misses 2 shots. Easily, that really made me frustrated with Darvin Ham. Like, okay, D'Lo finally finds rhythm. Don't take him out the game. If you gotta play him the whole time, bro, until he's ready to go sub out, play him. When D'Lo is hot, there is nothing stopping D'Lo from getting a shot. We're talking about crazy step backs, deep threes, catch and shoots, holding it for like a millisecond before he releases his shot, like retiming his shot. When D'Lo is hot, I'm giving him the ball every single time. And I remember it reminds me of that one game where Bron passed it to D'Lo passes him, and Bron just threw it back to him like that aggressive pass, like go shoot the ball, and he made it. Like moments like that make me respect D'Angelo Russell on the court a lot more. It's just the consistency part that sucks. And his attitude, I feel like, as well. Like we talked about it. Like he had a really great season for a 3-point shooter. He had one of the best, I feel like, seasons last year as far as shooting the 3-point ball in the NBA. But not a lot of people talk about it because he has performances like Alex said in the playoffs where he's scoring 0 points. Like it just can't happen. So once again, that's what gives me a lot of confidence going into the season. If JJ Redick can make his life easier, keep him involved while he's on the court, get him those easy 3-point opportunities, then it could be a scary team. It could be. But then again, it's still up to guys to show up and do their job. Like coaching, a coach can only put you in the right position, but it's up to the player to finish the plays, in my opinion. So I think it's going to make people's job a lot easier, but guys still have to go out there and want it. So hopefully that's the case. If we're keeping the same guys, you guys are talking about you want to run it back. You're confident. I see Austin Reeves on social media saying, they're confident about this team. Well, y'all got to show it. If y'all confident, y'all want to stay together, then show us Lakers fans that what y'all been working for the last 2 seasons was just a prelude to something special and hopefully a good championship run where everybody contributes in the playoffs and we can ultimately try to win something more than an in-season tournament and finally fulfill our name, Quest for 18, and have to work on obviously our new name. Branding issues will be funny, but yeah, we ball.
Nothing wrong with Quest for 19, man.
Yes, indeed. And if there's anything else, that's the end of the podcast for the Quest for 18 this week. Thank you all for joining. Of course, on Playback, both on Twitter, YouTube. As always, share this page, share this YouTube channel. Also share this Playback. Get your friends, family, any Laker fans that you know and love to join here. And as always, thank you and have a great rest of your day. Peace, everybody.